It happened on July 13th, a routine possession, or at least that's what it was supposed to be, until JC Sheldon drove her knee straight into Caitlin Clark's groin. The contact wasn't subtle, it wasn't accidental, it was direct, violent, and completely unnecessary. Clark immediately doubled over, her face twisted in pain, clutching at her leg while the referees stood motionless. No whistle, no foul, not even a second look, just silence. The kind that screams louder than any buzzer. Fans watching live were stunned, but those who caught the replay? Outraged. The footage leaves no doubt. You can literally see Sheldon drive upward with her knee, connecting with the most vulnerable part of Clark's body. This wasn't incidental contact. It wasn't just a basketball play, it was targeted, calculated. And yet the league's officials, 3 of them standing right there, let it slide like it never happened. And for Clark, this wasn't new. All season long, she's been the target. Elbows to the face, blindside shoves, eye pokes, hard fouls, things that would spark outrage if they happened to any other player. But when it's Caitlin Clark, somehow it's always play on. And this time, the consequences were immediate. Because that hit didn't just knock Caitlin Clark out of the All-Star game, it knocked the league into chaos. The moment news broke that Caitlin Clark wouldn't be playing in the All-Star game, it was like someone pulled the emergency brake on the entire WNBA economy. Ticket prices didn't just dip, they collapsed. Fans who once scrambled for seats suddenly wanted nothing to do with the game. Why? Because the one name they actually paid to see was no longer on the court. Before the injury, this game was tracking to be the biggest financial win in All-Star history. Average ticket price? $262. Even the cheapest seats were going for over $120. That's unheard of in the WNBA. The buzz was real, the demand was electric, then gone. Within hours of Clark being ruled out, the get-in price plummeted to just $64. That's a 48% nosedive. Overnight, StubHub and Vivid Seats became panic zones. Fans were unloading tickets at huge losses, just to avoid sitting through an event that no longer had any appeal. Some people lost hundreds of dollars. Others simply walked away, unwilling to spend a dime on a league that couldn't protect its biggest draw. This wasn't a minor dip in interest, it was a total rejection, the kind that sends chills through every executive suite in the league. And it proved something the WNBA doesn't want to admit. Without Caitlin Clark, fans don't show up. If the empty seats didn't send the message, the TV ratings screamed it. The WNBA All-Star Game didn't just underperform, it tanked. Viewership dropped a staggering 36% from the previous year. In 2024, the game pulled 3.44 million viewers. This year, just 2.19 million. That's not a dip, that's a collapse. And the league tried to spin it. They proudly touted a 158% increase from 2023's weak numbers, as if fans wouldn't notice they were skipping the Caitlin Clark era entirely. But everyone saw through it, because the truth was simple. Clark's regular season games outdrew the All-Star game without her. The Chicago Sky at Fever on May 17th, 2.7 million viewers. Liberty at Fever on May 24th, 2.22 million. Fever at Liberty on June 14th, 2.2 million. These weren't playoff matchups. They weren't special events. They were just games. But they had Clark, and that made all the difference. The league had hyped up All-Star Weekend as a grand showcase of talent. But the moment Caitlin Clark was removed, so was the interest. No amount of star-studded rosters or flashy promos could cover it up. The fans had already voted with their remotes. For the first time all season, Gainbridge Fieldhouse looked hollow. Rows of empty seats, silent concourses, entire sections that once exploded with noise and energy, now quiet, awkward, and unmistakably bare. It was a surreal image for fans who had gotten used to Caitlin Clark turning every arena into a sold-out spectacle. And it wasn't just the seats. The entire city felt off. This was supposed to be the WNBA's biggest weekend of the year. Instead, it looked like an exhibition game nobody cared about. Merchandise booths? Sluggish. Without Clark jerseys flying off the racks, vendors watched their inventory gather dust. Concession stands prepared for record crowds, then stood there, overstaffed and underwhelmed. Nearby restaurants and hotels, they had braced for the kind of surge that always follows Clark into town, but it never came. And that's the thing. The Caitlin Clark effect isn't just a stat line or a social media trend. It's money, it's energy, it's movement. She doesn't just fill arenas, she fuels entire economies around them. And when she's not there, that energy disappears. The WNBA didn't just lose a player for All-Star Weekend. They lost the one thing that was keeping everything glued together. Just when the WNBA needed to regain fan trust, they lit the match and tossed it straight onto a pile of gasoline. Right before tip-off, Players took the court wearing shirts that read, "Pay us what you owe us." On paper, it was supposed to be a statement, a demand for respect. But without Caitlin Clark, the only player actually generating the league's revenue, sitting injured on the bench, it came off like a bad joke. Fans didn't see empowerment. They saw entitlement. Social media exploded with backlash. Comment sections turned savage. Viewers called the shirts tone-deaf, insulting, even embarrassing. Because while players were demanding more money, the one person filling the seats, selling out arenas, and pulling historic viewership was being left unprotected. The optics were brutal. The message? Worse. You want bigger paychecks while the star who created the revenue stream gets kneed in the groin and ignored by referees? That's not empowerment. That's delusion. It proved what the numbers already said. This league's success isn't about slogans. It's about star power. And without Clark, the Pay Us campaign backfired hard. When a league is spiraling, fans look to leadership. But instead of stepping up, WNBA Commissioner Cathy Engelbert stepped aside and tried to downplay the firestorm engulfing her league. After Clark was blindsided by JC Sheldon's knee, fans demanded one simple thing: accountability, not favoritism, not special treatment, just a fair call. Instead, Engelbert defended the referees. She brushed off legitimate concerns as just part of the game. It was tone-deaf, it was weak, and it was exactly what fans were afraid of. This wasn't the first time either. Clark took an elbow to the head from Chennedy Carter. No call. Got poked in the eye by Dijanai Carrington. Ignored. Took a headshot from Angel Reese. Rewarded with a flagrant celebration. And now, a full-on groin shot? Still nothing. And Engelbert? Silent or dismissive every single time. In her interviews, she acted like fans were overreacting, as if concern for player safety was unreasonable, as if repeated uncalled assaults against the league's biggest star were just part of the game. That kind of detachment doesn't just alienate the fan base, it destroys trust. The WNBA isn't asking for Clark to be bubble-wrapped, but when refs are letting players take free shots at your most valuable asset and your commissioner shrugs it off, that's not leadership, that's negligence. Behind the hard fouls and weak leadership, there's something even uglier simmering beneath the surface: resentment. And it's directed squarely at Caitlin Clark. Here's a rookie who didn't just join the league, she changed it overnight. Clark brought in new fans, record ratings, sold-out arenas, sponsorships, and mainstream relevance the WNBA had been chasing for decades. But instead of celebrating her, many players seemed bitter. Cold stares, cheap shots, passive-aggressive interviews. It's all there. Why? Because Clark didn't wait her turn. She didn't pay her dues. She didn't have to grind for 10 years to get noticed. She became the show from day one. And that's a hard pill to swallow for veterans who've spent years in near anonymity. But here's the harsh truth. The league finally got what it always claimed to want: attention. It just didn't come from the people they expected, and the resentment shows. Players act like Clark's success is somehow taking something from them, rather than lifting the entire league. But smart franchises like the New York Liberty, they get it. They've already been caught meeting with Clark's agent, trying to lay the groundwork for the future. They understand you don't build around slogans. You build around superstars. And that's what Caitlin Clark is, like it or not. Let's stop pretending. The numbers aren't lying, the fans aren't confused, and the media spin can't change reality. The WNBA doesn't just benefit from Caitlin Clark, it survives because of her. The 36% crash in All-Star viewership, the 48% drop in ticket prices, the empty seats, the collapsed merchandise sales, the silent concession lines, the dead energy in a city that should have been buzzing. Every single symptom traces back to one cause: Clark wasn't on the court. And here's the part no one in league leadership wants to admit: she's not replaceable. Not by Aja Wilson, not by Sabrina Ionescu, not by anyone. When Clark suits up, the ratings follow. When she doesn't, the numbers fall off a cliff. That's not bias, that's data. Yet somehow, the league continues to act like she's just another player. They let her take elbows, knees, and eye pokes without consequence. They let bitterness fester in locker rooms. They let their officials blow call after call while pretending it's just part of the game. But this isn't just about Clark anymore. It's about survival. The WNBA is staring down a simple truth: protect your biggest star or watch the entire house of cards fall. Because if Caitlin Clark gets seriously injured again, you won't just lose a player, you'll lose the fans, the money, the momentum, everything. The WNBA All-Star Game was supposed to be a celebration, a showcase, a victory lap for a league finally capturing national attention. But one uncalled foul turned that celebration into a crisis and exposed the league's most dangerous secret. Caitlin Clark didn't just miss a game. Her absence triggered a financial meltdown, a ratings collapse, and a fan revolt that the WNBA couldn't spin, couldn't bury, and couldn't deny. And all of it could have been prevented if the league had simply done its job. Fans aren't asking for special treatment. They're asking for basic fairness, for a league that protects its stars, for leadership that values integrity over politics, and for players who understand that when one of them rises, they all rise. But that's not what happened. And now, the WNBA faces a brutal reality. They can either protect the one player keeping them alive, or watch everything fall apart while pretending she's not the reason anyone's watching. The empty seats said it. The crashing ticket prices screamed it. The ratings confirmed it. Without Caitlin Clark, the WNBA doesn't shine. It sinks.